Hi, everyone. I'm Rue Dickinson. I'm going to do a quick breakdown of what it's like to sell direct sales versus indirect sales. Now, the direct model is probably the one that you're familiar with. It's where you've got an account executive and maybe a sales engineer, and they're talking directly to the buyer or the client. And that's the model that a lot of people are familiar with. However, this just came up because I was filling in and I was doing some sales engineering training for a partner. And this team had some sales engineers that were at a consulting firm. So think of like an Accenture or Deloitte or KPMG. And what you have is you have these sales engineers over here and account executives, product owners, the other people that sell these solutions or implementations, assets. They're basically pieces of software that the company has repeatedly done over time, and then they created a product out of it. And what they do is they're trying to sell that to the end client over here. But the problem is that they don't have a relationship with that end client. Instead, they have to sell through the relationship owner, who is typically a partner at one of these consulting companies. So that partner owns all the relationships with all these different clients. There's usually you have one, two, maybe three different clients, and they're an existing client. And what the partner's job is to do is to provide solutions to that client. And they're also told, hey, you've got to drive 20% more revenue next year. So they're always looking for more opportunities to drive more business and provide more value to their client. The problem is everyone's reaching out to them. So you've got all these sales reps, like my old self, that would go and reach out to them and say, hey, I'd like to partner with you and talk about what we can do for your clients. And a lot of them just get ignored because nobody wants to listen to tons of sales reps trying to push product on their clients. So this person right here, they feel almost like a gatekeeper, like they're just trying to filter all the noise and keep it away from their client because there's all these hungry wolves, salespeople, account executives, solution consultants, trying to get in and talk to their client. So they kind of have to put up this barrier or this fence. Now, where does this come into play? I was just filling in for this training, and the sales engineer was asked to put together a demo about their product. And so they did it in this traditional direct sales approach. The problem is, if they're selling it and they're selling to an internal partner, the thing that the partner cares about is completely different than what the client cares about. So what ended up happening is the demo was very product focused. Now, it was actually a good demo if it was in this model, but it wasn't. So what I found myself doing as I was acting as this partner of this consulting firm is I was thinking, I don't even want to talk to my client about this. Because you got to realize I'm so busy that I don't have time to listen to product pitches. Instead, what I need you to do is I need you to capture my attention, and then I need you to tell me how it's super easy to go and take your product and sell it to the client so that my client gets value and I get services revenue. Now, how would I do that? Well, the sales motion is different for this. So this would be my process that I would use if I were selling in an indirect model. And by the way, this is the exact same process that I used to sell through the indirect model and had millions of software and services revenue as a result of it. So when you do this, you don't want to talk about the product. Step one is you want to talk about the audience and what they are going through. And this may seem like sales 101, but it's not, because this partner doesn't know that you actually understand their business. But if you walk in and you say something like, you probably have a bunch of internal people that are trying to meet with your client, and you probably have a bunch of sales reps that are sending you emails every single day trying to get access to your client and partnerships, and they don't provide any value whatsoever to your client. And so you just have to be that gatekeeper. And that partner would say, yeah, that's exactly my job. I'm just have to sit here and filter everything and then bring the valuable stuff to my client. That's my whole job. So what you do is you first develop rapport and demonstrate that you understand what that person is going through. They literally are just a filter. Then you talk about the problem that that person's clients have. So that's where you really have to know what the client is going through. But then I would focus only on that problem. And notice I'm not even in on the solution. So for example, if you're selling to a company that does mining or other commodity related things, and there's a lot of regulatory issues, you would say they have to deal with regulatory compliance. It's different in every single state. It's miserable to deal with. And they usually operate out of all these different places. So it's hard to do business. Meanwhile, if you said that to the partner would be like, yeah, that's one of their big problems. So now you're building more rapport. Then you get into how other customers have solved that problem. So presumably, this company that I was doing the work for, this training for, they had this internal product that they had used to solve 15 other companies' problems when it came to mining and exploration. So they've done this before, and all you have to do is tell a story about one of the 15 clients that you've already done this work for. Now, as the partner, I'm interested because I know there's proof that this has been done, and you're not just pushing this product on me. Then the next step is to talk about the value that I, as the partner, am going to receive as you provide this solution to my customer. So in this case, if I'm an internal partner at Accenture or KPMG or Deloitte or McKinsey, if you tell me that my client is going to get a solution to their problem, and it's also going to provide $2, $3, $5 million of additional services revenue for me at the account, now I'm all ears. Because even though I'm a consultant, and even though everyone says that consultants only do what's best for the client, consultants will not have a job if they do not grow revenue at their client. So you need to grow revenue in an ethical way that provides value to your customer. So talk about that value provided. And you can be direct or you can be indirect. I recommend being a little more indirect, but ultimately there's value for the client and there's also value for the partner because they need to drive that metric. And if they don't, they're not going to be there for long. And then finally, you want to quantify the process moving forward and the time it's going to take. Now, this is super important because most people are time wasters, and partners know this. These people are working 80, 120-hour weeks. Consulting is not a very lucrative job based on the hourly rate that you work. So they want to know, how can I reduce the amount of time it takes me to provide value to my client? And the way to do that is to be very clear about what the process is for moving forward. So for this company, turns out the process is not all that difficult. This product owner, this sales engineer, needs only a 90-minute meeting with the partner, the account team that's servicing each one of the clients. And that's to develop some strategy, talk about key problems, and then see if there's alignment so that they can put together a point of view on a presentation to their client. So that's meeting one. It's just 90 minutes. Then after that, if there is value in this for the client, they would move on to the meeting with the client. There might be a prep meeting here and there, but that's not super important. The meeting with the client takes about 60 minutes, and it's just to talk about the problems, talk about stories of other customers that have had this problem and how they've used the current solution that the company provides in order to solve those problems, and then see if the customer is interested. And that's it. And now what happens when you outline this is you allow the partner to understand that they're not having someone that's going to go out pitching their client on stuff, because that's a bad look for them. They want to look like they are providing solutions, options, and value to the customer. So they're very protective of that relationship. So the best way to do this is to be very clear on what the ask is, make sure the partner knows that they're in complete ownership of that relationship, and then help the partner to clearly bring value to the client in a non-threatening way. If you use this process, it makes it very easy for the partner to understand that you are a consultant, you are a partner of them with your client. Now, I, again, have used this approach and I have yielded millions of dollars in software and services by going this route. Notice I'm not talking about the product nearly ever. I'm just talking about the outcomes that other customers have achieved. So that's the key difference between a product demo, which might make sense in a direct sales motion, and a sales process that you would go through with an indirect sale. And that would be the case if you are a software vendor that then goes and sells to a consulting company, or has your consulting company represent you and have those relationships go through to the client. It's applicable for channel sales. It's applicable for internal sales. It's applicable if there is a core company or core sales team that then partners with internal sales teams to sell different types of products to that customer. It's very different, and the person that you need to sell is first this one. The recommended way to approach that is to show that person how you can make their job easier for them in as short amount of time as possible.